What's good, y'all boys? Welcome back to another video. Listen, it's your boy Boss Enosch. You feel me? Back again. Today, we're talking about politics again, okay? Look at this. Nikki Haley crushes Biden by 17 points in 2024 poll. Trump skips to stand in New York for our trial. So, the main part of this headline that caught my attention was the polling, right? You know, the polls say a lot of stuff. You know, they manipulate the polls. A lot of the polls are misleading, right? Because ain't no way. For example, there was one website, they put their polls for the debates. They put Chris Christie #1. What the fuck? Come on, bruh. That's cap. Okay? And the fact that Vivek is lower on the polls now compared to Nikki Haley and all that. Come on, bruh. Hell no, hell no, hell no, hell no, hell no. Smells like establishment canoodling. But I did see another poll yesterday, actually, that someone showed to me, so showing that Nikki Haley was actually doing better than Biden. So if Nikki Haley were to become the GOP nominee, she would crush Biden. Oh my God. Listen, I guarantee you, if the choice comes down to Biden or Nikki Haley, I'm voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Okay? I'm not, listen, I ain't going for it. I don't fuck with not one of them motherfuckers. Hell nah. But let's get into it and see what the Hill has to say. Robbie and Bree.
New polling is suggesting a bloodbath might occur if Nikki Haley winds up the GOP nominee against President Biden. The Wall Street Journal has the former South Carolina governor up by 17 points in a new poll released last week. Now, Haley tops Biden 51% to 34% compared with former President Trump. Trump's 4-point lead over the current incumbent is where he stands. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is currently tied with Biden, each having 45% of the vote. And DeSantis has led Biden by 3 points in a journal survey in April. Additional polling nuggets show that Trump's leagues ahead of Biden on a number of key issues, including the economy, inflation, crime, the war in Israel, and the border. Biden actually beats Trump only on abortion and on tone.
Isn't that crazy, though? And that's why, listen, one of the biggest demographics that vote Democrat are single women, okay? There are a lot of people who are one-issue voters. So they're mainly vote on one issue and fuck everything else. They don't give a fuck about anything else, okay? That's why they got all these people that voted for Biden, right? Because, oh, look, they painted it as we have to stop hatred. We have to stop hatred. We have to stop Trump. So that's really what activated a lot of people to go and vote. Because I think the 2020 election was the biggest voter turnout ever, I think. But listen, they did that, and people are seeing the scam for what it is. That's why a lot of people are now liking Biden. A lot of people are not fucking with Biden. They try to activate all these people, all of us to go and vote for him. And now look, ain't shit looking good. Ain't shit looking good.
These numbers come as just 23% of voters say Biden's policies have helped them personally, while 53% say they have been hurt by those policies. About half of voters say Trump's policies helped them personally. Meant much more than the 37% who say that they were hurt. This polling comes as Trump's legal woes continue to harangue him. The former president announced on Sunday that he would no longer be testifying in his New York civil fraud case, posting to Truth Social that he had already testified to everything and had nothing more to say other than that this is a complete and total election interference Biden campaign witch hunt that will do nothing but keep business out of New York. MAGA! Trump had a very busy weekend on his social media platform, upping a post by Ali Mark Davis implying that former President Obama could be indicted for murder. So Democratic judges in D.C. suddenly pretend President Trump doesn't enjoy presidential immunity like all of his predecessors for 250 years. Does that mean the Trump 47 Justice Department can indict President Obama for his extrajudicial murder of a 16-year-old American citizen? So there is that, of course. Poll numbers for Nikki Haley are interesting in a general election matchup with Biden. For a while now, it seems like, you can, whatever you think of her policies, it seems very clear that she is she was wildly ahead. She's by far the most likely to defeat Biden.
17 points. That's incredible.
It's incredible.
I mean, if your motivation, what you thought was the number one priority in the United States of America as a Republican was getting Joe Biden out of office, electing a Republican to replace him, you would have to get behind Nikki Haley at this point. Now things can change. Continue to.
Yeah, I'm behind Trump, bro. If you put me down between Trump and Nikki Haley, I'm going for Trump. Okay? Hell nah. Nikki Haley is just Republican Hillary Clinton. I ain't going for it, buddy.
Exposure to the public can obviously change people's fate. We saw that with Ron DeSantis. But she has been on an upswing throughout this presidential primary process.
For the general.
Right. Yeah, but no, she's been on an upswing polling-wise through the primary process, where someone like Ron DeSantis started out at a high that seems implausible when you think about it now, and has only been downhill since then. Now, she is not obviously as high, anywhere close to catching Donald Trump. But it is notable that if the argument is exposure can make people look worse over time, that has not been the case for Nikki Haley. That might be because she started out so low, she had nowhere to go but up. But regardless, that's where she is right now. But the thing is, I think the big difference between Republicans and Democrats is Republicans don't think their biggest priority in the world is knocking Joe Biden out of office as much as it is electing Donald Trump. On the other side of the equation, Democrats who purport to believe that preventing Trump from being elected is the most important thing in the world are looking at these numbers and saying, no matter what, I'm sticking behind Joe Biden.
So the latest numbers from Iowa are very interesting. This is a poll that was conducted last week, I believe, has Trump at 51. So this is just Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying Ohio, just Iowa. Trump is at 51%, so he's by massively ahead. Then DeSantis is in second with 19%, and he's actually gained 3 points in Iowa. He's been running a very Iowa-focused strategy. That is a good strategy. Haley has about 16%, Ramaswamy 5%, Christie 4%.
Ramaswamy's way too low, bro. But it just goes to show you I think it's a lot of older voters. That's what it is. And older voters are, they're used to how it normally goes, right? They want the status quo, okay? They want the regular expected blah 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 government policy talk, okay? I'm a young guy, okay? I'm tired of seeing these old motherfuckers say the same shit they always say and ain't shit be happening for real. I want somebody young. That's speaking and not scared to say what he got to say, okay? Somebody that's not scared to say what's on his mind for real. That inspires confidence. Someone actually sounds like they know what they're talking about. All these other people, they don't sound like they know what they're talking about. Okay? Nikki Haley couldn't even name 3 provinces that she would send troops to protect. You're the foreign policy expert. Why don't you know at least 3 of them? Come on, bro. Come on. Hell no.
So, it is, on some level, it is the case, going back to what I said at the very beginning of this whole thing, that if there's one person against Trump, they might have some kind of chance. Because if you add up all the non-Trump people, you do have something. You're getting pretty close to the Trump number. Now, there's all sorts of ways to quibble with that. Maybe the 5 that Ramaswamy's getting actually that belongs to Trump rather than the other people. But if you add DeSantis, Haley, and Christie together, you're getting close to there. So is it split where he wouldn't be so wildly ahead if they weren't split this way?
I also think that some of the Ron DeSantis people, I know that seems hard to wrap your brain around, but are for Trump. I've seen enough interviews with people, especially Floridians, who say, I wish they could both be president. I wish they could be on the same ticket. I like them both. And it really is the campaign that's forced them to be at odds with each other. They're both popular in the state.
Yeah, could be the case. So I don't know. But obviously they have both DeSantis.
That's funny. One of my coworkers who's like an old gay Democrat, super strong, Democrat till death. He's like, nah. He'll say DeSantis is not popular. People don't really like DeSantis over here. Be for real. Come on, bro.
DeSantis and Haley have a reason to stay in if their ultimate strategy is not really to defeat Trump at the ballot box, but to hope that some kind of calamity occurs given the legal situation, which we talked about a little bit there.
So all that being said, the polling numbers is really interesting because you can see how a lot of these polls just go to show you that Biden is very unpopular. So it's like, why is it that the DNC, the Democrat establishment, why are they trying so hard to push him as if he's a viable choice? Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people think they're doing a bait and switch. They're gonna do a switcheroo. You know, we've seen his son is actually getting indicted now and actually getting charged. Right? Video on that coming soon. So are they just gonna, you know, string it along with Biden until boom, they switch it? It's actually Gavin Newsom or somebody. I don't know. They don't have any superstars. You know what I'm saying? They don't have any superstars that are able to, I think, even combat any of this for real, bro. Like, I don't know. I feel like they might hit the nuclear button. But it's so funny, the lengths that they'll go to, even regardless of how unpopular Biden is, where, the fuck? Where, even, like, the Florida Democratic Party, they closed down their primary, where they're not even going to let someone else run. Well, anyways, I seen this video from Russell Brand, and he was spitting some facts in it and showing some stuff off. I was like, okay, wow, this is really, it's funny that they throw all these terms on Republicans and Trump, for example, but they're doing shit that's worse than what they claim that they're doing. But let's get into it.
The Florida Democrat Party have scrapped their primary, which means you can vote for anyone as long as it's Joe Biden. Yeah, it's Donald Trump who's turning the USA into a dictatorship. Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining us on our mutual voyage to truth and freedom, where we're able to discern between, for example, a democracy and a dictatorship. A democracy being, I don't know, you get to vote on stuff, you have some agency in your community, your own individual life. You're not continually beholden to centralized authoritarian systems that seem to act autonomously, remotely, inaccessible to you. It's extraordinary that the Democrat Party continually whip up hysteria around a potential Trump victory in 2024. He'll put people in jail. He'll exile people.
Yeah, I remember how them people was reacting to that joke that Trump made, where he'd be a dictator for a day on the border.
All the while pretending that they are the defenders of democracy. And yet, Joe Biden will not debate any other presidential candidate for the Democratic Party nomination. And in Florida, they've just scrapped their entire primary, meaning you can vote for anyone as long as it's Joe Biden. Continually in the legacy media say, if you don't vote for the Democrats, you're voting for a dictator. Trump will turn the USA into a dictatorship. Despite the fact he's already been president, didn't turn into a dictatorship. I mean, so what is all this hysteria and hyperbole? And what does tyranny look like these days? Is tyranny now a sterile, desacralizing, banalizing force of centralized authority that pretends it cares about you, that pretends it's taking yet more authority through censorship and control in order to protect vulnerable people and to protect you from the real tyrants? Let's get into this story.
And here was Cheney this morning on Trump's threat at her former colleagues in Congress.
People who say, well, if he's elected, it's not that dangerous because we have all of these checks and balances, don't fully understand the extent to which the Republicans in Congress today have been co-opted.
They certainly have been co-opted. They're co-opted by lobbying, they're co-opted by donations, and the Republican Party's new preferred candidate, Nikki Haley, seems to be the property of big energy and MIC interests. What does Liz Cheney mean when she says that politicians have been co-opted?
I think Liz Cheney is trying to make it seem like they've been co-opted by crazy Trumpers, but I don't think that's facts, bro. I don't think that's facts. I think it's more neocon conservative Republicans in there than the MAGA Republicans.
What is she talking about? What she's talking about is the threat Trump poses because he's an odd, anomalous, populist politician rather than a sanctioned, ordinary, centralized politician that represents the interests of...
Exactly. That's what she's talking about. Yeah, he's not a puppet. He's not a puppet. He's someone that is a wild card, okay? He's not someone that they can control. He's not controlled opposition. He's not controlled anything.
Elite globalist corporate interests. That's really all they're talking about.
One of the things that we see happening today is a sort of a sleepwalking into dictatorship in the United States.
I agree. We are sleepwalking into one. Do you see all the shit that these motherfuckers be doing? Well, damn near, we're already damn near in one, okay? I mean, to the fact that, listen, they won't even let us vote. I'm in Florida. They won't even let us vote for another Democrat. If you want a different Democrat than Joe Biden, you don't like Joe Biden, they said, too bad, we're voting for Joe Biden. That's your choice. Doesn't that sound like a dictatorship to me? Well, you're not even giving me a choice.
Often when Republicans and Democrats, or even a Republican politician like Liz Cheney and a centre-left neoliberal outlet like MSNBC collaborate, it's shown as a sign of a healthy democracy. Look, from across the aisle, people are coming together. But I don't see it that way. I see a homogenized blob of centralist politicians that will work with legacy media outlets, ultimately for the corporate globalist class. Liz Cheney opposes any challenge to establishment power, the same way that MSNBC does, the same way that the Democrat Party does, in a very literal way. For example, they scrapped the Florida primaries because they know that basically anybody might defeat Joe Biden. So you can't have him debate anybody. You certainly can't give people the opportunity for vote for anyone else. And even if a popular figure like RFK emerges within the Democrat Party movement, he is exiled and annexed as a threat to the establishment. Here's Dean Phillips, who was set to stand against Biden in Florida, giving his take.
Hey everybody, what happened in Florida yesterday is a tragedy and a travesty. The Florida Democratic Party decided, just a handful of people, decided to disenfranchise millions of Democratic voters in Florida by saying we're not going to have a presidential primary. I'm running for president. There are others running for president as Democrats. And this is the kind of stuff that happens in Tehran, not in Tallahassee.
He's a member of the Democrat Party, comparing it to Sharia law or tyranny or dictatorship elsewhere. It's extraordinary that we're witnessing a time where certain people are being pointed as tyrannical because they may be charismatic, populist, demagogic figures. But the real problem, if you ask me, and I'd love to know what you think in the chat, the establishment itself has become so autocratic that populist politicians seem favourable to this machine that doesn't care about what you think and literally removes the opportunity for electoral democracy at every opportunity.
We've got to do something about this. I've been a lifelong Democrat, you know that, supported our party since I was in my 20s, been a member of Congress for 3 terms, and was a member of House Democratic leadership. I've never seen something so absurd, so disenfranchising, and so suppressive of Democratic voters. So please help us out. Go to dean24.com and support our effort to pursue legal channels to rectify this absolute nonsense, tragic day for electoral democracy in America. Thanks.
Yeah, and it's not going anywhere, okay? Because it doesn't fit their plans, okay? When I talk about the powers that be, when I talk about the establishment, I talk about shit like this. He's running. Florida, Dems in Florida just decided there's not going to be a primary. So it means they're restricting you of a choice. They're stripping you of choice. They're not letting you choose.
Everybody.
Wow. So what is a dictatorship? What is tyranny? The legacy media are keen to promote Liz Cheney's book because she condemns Donald Trump as a populist, coining the phrase Orange Jesus, which you know he'll own and love. The legacy media is keen always to present these kind of neoliberal centrists who are no threat to authority because they will never truly represent the interests of ordinary American people. They're willing to platform them. But the legacy media aren't so interested in covering what seems to be a real threat to democracy, the literal scrapping of democratic processes like the Florida primary, where lifelong Democrats like Dean Phillips are sort of aghast and baffled by the collapsing of the democracy within their own party. Let's see how Karine Jean-Pierre, still waiting for her MSNBC show any day now, handles questions about the collapse of democracy within the Democrat Party establishment.
Does the Florida party then effectively canceling the Democratic primary also constitute voter suppression?
I can't speak to that.
Why not?
You have to speak to the camera.
Remember how much them people was crying, talking about, Republicans, they're trying to suppress the vote from black people. They want black people don't have IDs. They crying over bullshit. Crying over bullshit, crying voter suppression because they wanted a little more stricter voting laws, which is having your ID and no mail-in ballots. You got to show up. You got to show up in person. That's gonna stop. They're trying to stop black people from voting. What are you talking about? But yeah, here you go. They're not even letting you vote for somebody else other than Biden. Isn't that voter suppression? You're suppressing my vote. I don't like this motherfucker. I don't like this dude. But no. I can't comment on that. I can't comment on that. Shut up.
Or the DNC.
I don't think she believes in it anymore, Karine Jean-Pierre. She looks absolutely exhausted and beleaguered by the entire process. I can't speak to that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Can I just have a talk show already? Poor woman. She's absolutely shattered. But we're asking an important question. What is tyranny really? We're being asked to accept that Donald Trump is a dictator, that if he gets in again, people will be imprisoned, executed, exiled. We're being asked to accept that January the 6th was not a protest or even a kind of gentle kooky riot, but an attempted insurrection. Why are certain pieces of information being amplified and promoted and other stories entirely ignored? What is dictatorship in 2023 really?
Does the White House have any thoughts on
I can't.
those voters being...
I can't speak to that.
Is it because of the Hatch Act, or...
You're talking about 2024 election, you're talking about a primary, I'm just not going to speak to that from here.
Okay.
I don't think that her TV show's going to be very good. She won't answer any questions. Just going to be, listen, just put the commercials on. I can't speak to that. Okay, let's dive a little deeper.
Sometimes I wonder about, like, the people that be in these positions. At the end of the day, even though they're part of a machine, they're cogs in a machine. One Piece reference, Kizaru. I'm just a cog in a machine. I do wonder about them personally. Like, how do they personally feel? What they do in their life that led them to the position? How do they feel about it for real? You know, their thoughts. Like, they're not somebody like me who will, grab a camera, start the camera, and just tell you what I think out top of my head. No bars, no holds barred, okay? They're not allowed to do that. Maybe to their close family, you know what I'm saying? Or they husband or wife. But it's like, I think about that sometimes. Like, yo, you really a cog in the machine. You can't even speak your mind for real. You just have to go along with whatever these people say. It's kind of sad, bro. It's kind of sad. And it's really just like One Piece. Because, okay, y'all don't know nothing about One Piece, probably. But if you do, good for you. In the manga right now, there's a flashback going on with one of the characters who works for, like, the oppressive government organization. And he's one of the top-ranking, strongest members in it that has to enforce the laws and stuff. Finally, he's into the story, and he's forced to do something that he doesn't really seemingly want to do. He has to kill people that he considers his friends. But we never really saw the flashback between that. It's only like little moments where it seemed like there was like a relationship there. Only now we're getting a flashback and getting the full extent of the relationship, and it's like, dang, okay, now it's putting more context into what he was just doing and going through. And he even says himself, I'm just a cog in the machine. And it makes me think about somebody like Karine Pierre Joseph, right? That's her name, right? And it's like, yo, did you, like, they celebrated, look, we have our first gay Haitian American woman in this position. Woo, 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 woo. But it's like, did you even really want to be here? Do you regret it? I wondered about that with people on the news too. What percent of these people on the news believe the stuff they're saying? And what percent don't believe it, but they just go along with it because that's their job. Okay, they're not no revolutionary, they're not no freedom fighter, they're not no whatever. That's not in their spirit. They just know that they don't like what they're doing, but they do it anyway because that's their job. Makes you wonder. Let's keep going, though.
Unlike Jean Karine Pierre, let's speak to that. Across news sites, Democrats are warning of the imminent death of democracy. Hillary Clinton has warned that a Trump victory will be the end of democracy. That's quite a claim. Trump victory is the end of democracy, scrapping primaries, not having Biden debate anyone. That's the beginning of a democracy. That's the democracy we have to protect. Odd. MSNBC.
I think what that means, too, is the beginning of the end of democracy. What it is that when a lot of these people... So when the establishment makes threats and warnings like that, what it really means is that they're going to instigate that. They're going to do things to push it to that point, to make it seem like that. Because a lot of times they say stuff, even though it's not necessarily true, but they say it so much that people start to believe it's true. And if you believe it's true, it becomes true because people start acting like it's true, even though it was never true to begin with. So when they say end of democracy, they're going to, I promise you, they're going to do shit to make it seem like, oh yeah, see, look what Trump's doing, but it's really what they're doing, what they're pushing. They're going to have people in positions to fight against Trump's dictatorship, but the things they're fighting are boogeymen. But people are going to believe it because they watch the news, they listen to what the people say, they listen to the mainstream opinion, they listen to the establishment, bro. That's what they do.
Rachel Maddow is warning of executions. Remember, they accused Trump of using inflammatory language. He said the word vermin the other day. Execution's pretty incendiary word. Even actors like Robert De Niro are predicting that this may be our very last Democratic election. We've already
Shut
seen the
up.
last Democratic election. It was the one before the one they scrapped in Florida. I mean, they're not scrapping that election in Florida because they think it's going to go brilliantly for Joe Biden. It's a foregone conclusion. What's the point in holding elections? This guy's so brilliant, you wouldn't want to see anyone else. You don't need to see this guy have a debate. You don't need to see why there's regular payments made by Hunter Biden's company. You don't need to discuss why there are all these checks coming from Ukrainian and Chinese energy companies. There's simply no...
Facts. There's a lot of stuff. Listen, and I wanted this off rip from the beginning, like months ago when they first did a Republican debate. I'm like, yo, where's the Democrat debate? What's going on? But it's because there's a lot of stuff that people can nail Biden on and really expose it for a mainstream audience that Biden is not mentally fit enough to rebuttal, refute against at all. And it'd be embarrassing. And it'd make his poll numbers even worse. So, in order to keep his poll numbers up, we're not going to let you embarrass him on national television. No, we're not going to show you that. And so if people don't see it, they don't know. Ooh,
nothing
crazy.
to discuss except one thing. Trump is corrupt and Trump will turn this country into a dictatorship. That's it. Yet these harbingers of tyranny are increasingly pursuing the very course that will make their predictions come true. The Democratic Party is actively seeking to deny voters choices in this election, supposedly to save democracy. That's yet more of the Orwellian doublethink that we've become.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, bro. In order to save you, we're going to take your freedom away for your own good. Because we know what's best for you. We know what's best for you. That's what these people think, bro. That's their mindset.
Used to. In order to protect democracy, we're going to have to scrap elections and debates. And if you vote for someone else, you're voting for a dictatorship. Oh, okay. Henry Ford once promised customers any colour so long as it's black. Democrats are adopting the same approach to the election. You can have any candidate on the ballot as long as it's Joe Biden.
As long as it's Joe
This
Biden.
week, the executive committee of the Florida Democratic Democracy told voters that they would not be allowed to vote against Biden, even though he has opponents in the primary. The party leadership has ordered that only Biden will appear on the primary ballot. And if you want to register your discontent with Biden with a write-in vote, forget about it. Under Florida law, if the party approves only one name, there will be no primary ballots at all. The party just called the election for Biden before a single vote has been cast. That's the kind of story that if it was about President Xi or someone in Iran would be used to suggest that there was a lack of democratic procedure, that you were being guided in a very particular direction. I've been thinking continually as all of the calls for a Joe Biden impeachment have been made, is this the best they could do? How does that party work? Why were they so determined that it should be Hillary in 2016? Why are they so determined it was going to be Joe Biden in 2020? Didn't they say, oh no, this guy's had all these payments from energy companies, it's messy, he's too old, it's ridiculous, given that our whole ideology is meant to be built on diversity, inclusivity, and the inherent badness of the patriarchy and old white men in particular. And yet he was the candidate that they put forward, and he's still the candidate that they're endorsing, to the exclusion of debate or any potential opposition. This is not unprecedented. It happened with Barack Obama in 2012, and on the Republican side with George W. Bush in 2004. It was wrong then, and it's wrong now. We can't bring you this content without your loyalty, your strength, and without the support of our partners. Now, we all love giving money to the government, right? So that they can... Representative Dean Phillips, Democrat, Minnesota, noted, Americans would expect the absence of democracy in Tehran, not Tallahassee. Our mission as Democrats is to defeat authoritarians, not become them. In Iran, the mullahs routinely bar opposition candidates from ballots as guardians of the ballots. We're guarding that ballot.
Wow.
There is good reason for the Biden White House to want the election called before it is held. A CNN poll found that 2 out of 3 Democrats believe that the party should nominate someone else. The vast majority then. A Wall Street Journal poll found that 73% of voters say Biden is too old to run for president. The party leadership is
70%.
solving that problem by depriving Democratic voters of a choice. In other states, Democratic politicians and lawyers are pursuing a different strategy. You can have any candidate as long as it isn't Trump. They are seeking to bar Trump from ballots under a novel theory about the 14th Amendment. In states from Colorado to Michigan, Democratic operatives are arguing that Trump must be taken off the ballot because he gave aid and comfort to an insurrection or rebellion.
So you see how all these pieces fall into place. They needed January 6th to happen. That's why they tried so hard and continue to try so hard to call it an insurrection. They try to blame it on Trump. And now they're going to try to use that. See, well, he started an insurrection. So he shouldn't be able to run for president. And people believe all that shit, hook, line, and sinker, because it looked crazy. It did look crazy. It did look crazy. But again, January 6th, inside job. They wanted that shit to happen, bro. It fit their plans so well. That's why it's like, bro, and a lot of them people, they took the bait. You know, they went inside. If they just never went inside, it would have been so, like, all this would have been so much easier, right? It would have been so much easier. But some of the people were stupid as hell and ran inside, was doing dumb shit. Other people just walked in because some of the police just letting them in. They let them in. They opened the door. They let them in. They said, come on in. Come on in. I promise you. So I wish, you know, of course, people want to know. They're all regular people. They want to know what's going to happen this far in the future. But I wish they just never went inside, bro. Because now they're trying so hard to use this shit, bro. And look, if they get away with it this time, imagine what's going to happen next time to somebody else. Years from now, for example. You know, you got to think long term. If they can justify abusing the Constitution to try to lock somebody up or get them off the ballot, imagine what they're going to do next, bro. They be like, oh, wow, we really got away with this. Bro, can't let them win, bro.
So, there's a few things here that are extraordinary. Like Ukraine's war against Russia, the first thing you think is you can't beat Russia in the war. It's too big a country. It's a nuclear superpower. Eventually, a few years later, that is revealed to be the case. When you see Joe Biden, you think he shouldn't be the president. He's too old. A few years later, that's revealed to be the case. The majority of even Democrat Party affiliate voters don't want Joe Biden to be the presidential nominee. And for Trump, looking for reasons to bar him from the ballot, to indict him, to impeach him, to imprison, to incarcerate him, seems less and less like the pursuit of justice and more like the removal of a potential opponent from the ballot. And saying that he should be removed from the ballot because he gave aid and comfort to the insurrection. Aid? Well, he was helping it. Comfort. He's okay. Was the insurrection okay? It's a really sort of extraordinary loopholes that are being looked for, when actually what they're advocating for the whole time, remember, every time that Trump is condemned as a potential dictator, what they're saying is we have to protect this democracy. Even the outrage around January the 6th was, this is our sacred space where we conduct the business of running America. But when those institutions fail, when you have no faith in the political class, when you can't trust anyone from Hillary Clinton to Nikki Haley, also in the Republican Party, and Barack Obama, just disappointed vastly, Joe Biden, clearly a career politician, tied up with his affiliation to the donor class, like he said before he was elected, nothing will essentially change. You are creating the conditions where people will look for different ideas. Populism and great communicators are likely to reap the benefits from that. Whether you love Trump or loathe Trump, you have to accept that the conditions for his success has been created by a total lack of democracy, and no one seems to be amending it or attempting to address it. They're doubling down and making it much, much worse and continuing to call Trump a dictator. It doesn't make any sense. Other Democrats have called for more than 120 other Republicans to be stripped from the ballots.
Yeah, bro, the way this shit going, it feels like everything's just gonna blow up, bro. Because, like he just said, and it's something I've said before too, they're creating the conditions for these things to happen. They're creating the conditions for people to question the establishment, for people to question the status quo, for people like Vivek Ramaswamy, like Donald Trump, to rise up and gain notoriety, bro. You made the conditions where someone like this thought certain things and came to notoriety. And now you're complaining about it. But you did it. This is your fault.
Under the same claim tied to the January the 6th Capitol riot. Yet another way that event is being utilised to prohibit democracy, increase police expenditure, increase surveillance, increase censorship. In recent filings supporting this effort, figures as prominent as media lawyer Floyd Abrams and Barclay Dean Erwin Chemerinsky have told the Colorado Supreme Court that preventing voters from being able to cast their votes for Trump is just a way of fostering democracy. So long as courts believe that a candidate's speech is capable of triggering disqualification, that speech is unprotected in their view. This appears to be part of a global tendency that's become evident in the new censorship laws that are being lobbied for in Ireland, have been passed in the UK and Canada, are being proposed in the EU. A presumption to understand what democracy is, what free speech is, what hate speech is, who should be allowed to speak and who isn't. All of this is being undertaken at a time of crisis and fracture, where many of us have a total lack of trust for the institutions that are making these bold claims and in some cases draconian laws. The assumption that if Donald Trump speaks, that in itself is anti-democratic. That's a threat to democracy. But you'd feel a lot more faith in those kind of proclamations if the other side wasn't behaving in such an observably undemocratic way when it comes to their own preferred candidate and the process that got him into that position and the abandonment and suppression of any process that could be a challenge to him. So far, these efforts around the country have met with defeat in court after court, but the effort continues with the support of many in the media.
So their efforts have been failing. They've been failing, but they keep trying. And they're going to keep trying until they win. Because, bro, I'm telling you, it's going to be so terrible. So terrible if they do this, bro. Because imagine... Because pretty much what it comes down to, if you say something that I don't like, because I personally don't like it, I'm stripping you of your position. Bro, no. Because that's the only basis that it's in. It's something that they don't like. And they're trying to frame it as if it's something that's evil, an actual bad action, when it wasn't. If this works, all they have to do is continue to come up with situations or instigate situations or make situations worse and then blame the people that blame the people that aren't super opposed to the situation or that whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever side that the situation leans onto. Because January 6th, that leaned more towards a conservative side, Republican side, right? So anyone who didn't outright disown or disavow, condemn, right? Condemn Hamas. Do you condemn Hamas? Whoever doesn't outright condemn what happened, okay, you got to get out of here. That's the precedent that they're trying to set. On God, that's the precedent that they're trying to set. It's just a step. It's similar to the cancel culture mindset. You said something I don't like, you're out of here. And that's why people have kept fought back and combated against that type of mindset, bro, because it's not good. It don't help nobody. But again, these people, their agenda is to try to get it to where everyone believes the same thing. Everyone believes in one idea structure, one system, one government, one world government. That's what they want, bro. That's what they want. I promise you, that's what they want.
Media. Some national polls show Trump as the most popular candidate for the 2024 election, while a few show Biden slightly ahead. Yet, despite 74 million voters supporting Trump in the last election, these Democrats are insisting that voters should not be allowed to vote for him in the name of democracy. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? On a very simple level, if 74 million people like someone enough to vote for them, saying that they cannot vote for that person cannot be called democracy, can it? Yes, that is what we're calling it. Let me know in the chat if that is the pivotal and fundamental problem. The presumption that what they think is more important than what you think. In fairness to Democratic partisans like Clinton and Maddow, they could well be right. The 2024 election could well prove the end to democracy if these efforts succeeded in purging ballots of opposing candidates. It's extraordinary that the forces that claim to be supporting democracy appear to be the biggest threat to democracy. Is it therefore true that those that they claim are the biggest threat to democracy are required in order to save it? Does that follow? Let me know in the chat. It's all part of an electoral variation on the Vietnam War claim that it is sometimes necessary to destroy a village in order to save it. And I never thought that was a very good argument. What the hell are you doing to that village with all of that napalm, setting it on fire and killing all those children? It's funny you should ask. We're saving that village, but the children, the chickens, all the straw huts. I know it's confusing, isn't it? Anyway, vote for Joe Biden. Democrats claim to be right and to have the best motivations, which is why they feel justified in saving democracy.
People who try to use that as justification are so evil, bro.
By denying it to the voters. After all, it's all about motivation, where any means are justified. They're trying to save democracy by limiting it. This is the kind of language we're continually seeing. The Member of Parliament in Ireland saying that we are curtailing and controlling freedom in order to protect freedom.
See, okay, Ireland's coming up again. I know I need to cover that whatever that shit was going on in Ireland, I need to cover that. Because it keeps popping up, and obviously it relates to stuff that I'm already talking about. So at some point, maybe tomorrow, I'm going to get into it.
They're protecting free speech by shutting down hate speech. Their ideology no longer makes sense. I think there's a pretty important reason for this. They're ultimately interested in control and profit, which sort of amount to the same thing in a way because they're so interwoven. Because there is no set of values like we will never do X or we will always do Y, because there are no set of principles, whether they're religious or humanitarian or socialist or capitalist or fascist, because there's no principles at all except the accumulation of more resources and power. power, there's never any continuity in the arguments. One minute they're telling you this, the next minute they're telling you that, and often they're telling you things that just don't make sense. Even the fundamental idea that they require incredible authority in order to protect the vulnerable doesn't make sense, because in a society where the vulnerable's needs were a priority, you wouldn't have so many desperate and vulnerable people. There's paradoxes throughout it, and it's not because of complexity, it's because of deception, I believe. Let me know if you agree in the chat. Thus, it is an assault on democracy for Republican lawyers to challenge elections based on alleged problems with voting machines, but it is protecting democracy for former Clintons based on alleged problems with voting machines, but it is protecting democracy for former Clinton General Counsel and found...
Something that's funny about the, because I'm glad he brought that up, and this will probably be a main topic for another day. When the Republicans were talking about they were worried about the voting machines and the lack of security, and, you know, they all slandered them for that, right? They slandered them when they said anything about election fraud or voting fraud. They slandered them. Well, that's not real. It's not real. There's no proof of that. Well, Democrats were worried about voting machine security too. In 2019, Elizabeth Warren and somebody else who I don't remember off the top of my head, they had a whole like 12 or 15 page document addressing their worries about the security and the lack of security for the Dominion voting machines, all electronic systems machines, and a third company, right? It's a third company, yeah. Because there used to be like almost 20. Now there's only 3. So, phew. But yeah, so even Democrats were worried about that in 2019. But when Republicans talk about it, oh, they're lying, they're evil, they're lying. So, you know, a lot of things are not what they seem to be.
Voting machines, but it is protecting democracy for former Clinton General Counsel and founder of the Democracy Docket, Mark Elias, to claim that a machine could flip the result in favour of the GOP. In Tehran, a popular joke emerged after the Guardian Council approved only one candidate, Chief Justice Ebrahim Raisi, to appear on a ballot. Democracy, the joke went, was safe because the Guardians would allow Raisi to run against 6 other spellings of his own name. The American election Guardians in Florida did one better. They've arranged for there to be no ballot at all. Who needs the pretense of a primary when you can simply dictate the result? Yet rest assured, you may be able to cast a vote for an approved slate of candidates of healthy choices. Consider it a type of big gulp election where you are protected against your own bad choices like a sugary drink at 7-Eleven. Actor Seth Rogen has pledged to vote for whoever is the Democrat. That's all I need to know. If these efforts...
See, another dummy. Just believe whatever them people say, bro.
If are successful, many voters could be left with that single liberating choice and no other. It seems like the ongoing demonisation of all opponents, and beyond even their political opponents, anyone that has voted for them, which, as we know, amounts to 74 million people, has led to a state where the only way you can have democracy is by voting for a single party with a single candidate who is not allowed to be challenged, who is not allowed to be debated, who is not allowed to be discussed, whose financial affairs seem a little dubious, who made numerous pledges before election that he's been unable to fulfill. And all of the condemnation of Trump and the people that need to be deprogrammed, the basket of deplorables, all of those condemned Americans are being dismissed as supporters of a dictatorship and leaving you with one solitary candidate as the only choice to oppose tyranny and dictatorship. What seems clear to me now is that dictatorship doesn't look like it did in the last century. It doesn't look like Mussolini or Mao or Stalin or Hitler. And neither does it look like populist rhetoric and hyperbole or ethno-nationalism or what's regarded as racism as a result of a lot of anti-migration rhetoric, which, by the way, appears to be largely accepted by both sides of neoliberal democracies these days anyway. What it looks like is banalised career politicians talking about protecting the vulnerable, talking about how particular crises, whether they're geopolitical and military or health pandemic crises, legitimise and require new powers, new controls to protect you or for your convenience. The tyranny that we are confronted with now is technological and technocratic. It's a kind of dictatorship that was impossible before because there was no means to control and observe people in the way that we can be controlled and observed now. We are facing a world where there will be no cash, where the ability to turn off your finances is becoming a reality, the ability to track your movements and prevent your movements, to control where you're able to travel, what social activities you're able to participate in, justifying this control all the while by protecting the vulnerable or helping you or a necessary measure that we have.
We've talked about this before. They will strip away your freedoms in the name of security. Security. For your own good. For your own good. This is a problem, bro. This is a problem. And it's not really something that's like super easily digestible to someone who's just believe whatever the narrative is every time. Because a majority of people, a lot of people that just, okay, whatever they say on the news, that's what we just believe what it is. Because why would the news lie? We know the news never lies.
Yeah, that's what it said on the news. And the news never lies.
I forgot what that was a reference from. But, you know, because I think about a lot of young people, like, they see what's on the news and they just believe it because that's what they're told. A lot of people just believe what they're told, bruh. And a lot of these people in the establishment are trying to abuse that fact that's how a lot of people operate. And it's really scary, bro. It's scary. It's scary. I guess maybe it's not too scary if you're a regular person who doesn't really think about anything and just, except, you know, worrying about your regular day-to-day needs and going to work and paying your bills and all that. And take care of your family. But this is serious shit, bro. Boy, serious shit.
To take. Dictatorships and tyranny now has a very different face. It has a very different tone. It's the friendly, bureaucratic language of a platform telling you that you can no longer communicate, or you can no longer earn money from your content, or you can no longer travel. Because we've not been schooled in what new forms of dictatorship will look like, we're not able to recognize it. Or their preferences, we won't be able to recognize it. But when people start cancelling elections, demanding more control, demanding the ability to censor or surveil, panicking when platforms get purchased by someone who releases information, and demanding more control within those platforms that the deep state had already penetrated, you start to get an idea of what dictatorships are going to look like in the future. They are going to be globalist. They are going to be corporate. They are going to be technologically advanced. They are going to always take actions in order to protect you and to protect people that are even more vulnerable than you. It will always lead to you having to make sacrifices because of the planet, because of poverty, because of poor people elsewhere, because of a disease. But it will never involve the elite establishment having to change their trajectory. You will notice ongoing wealth transfers. You will notice the way that political parties are funded, and you will notice that their opponents are always discredited and removed. That whether it's a popular figure like Conor McGregor in Ireland, he'll be dismissed in order to continue to implement centralized globalist authority. And I think that this battle is taking place primarily in the United States of America, and I think the battle began with the election of Donald Trump. Because whatever Donald Trump is or isn't, they do not want him in power, plainly. They want Joe Biden in power. And that seems to be quite a difficult ambition to fulfill because he's such a ludicrous candidate who can't even be trusted in a Floridian primary against dear Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson. RFK has to be expunged from the party. Outrageous though it may
Same way they did Bernie Sanders.
Dictatorship in 2023 looks like Joe Biden and sounds like the gentle language of compassion and concern for your safety. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think?
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This was kind of two videos combined into one, but I felt like the polling stuff was a good segue for this. Because, you know, it's showing you time and time again, the people are speaking. They do not want Joe Biden. They don't like Joe Biden. I don't want Joe Biden. Don't need Joe Biden. But despite that, despite his poll numbers going down, despite people like Nikki Haley doing better than him in polls, despite all of that, they are not giving you a choice to vote for somebody other than him. They're not giving you a choice somebody other than him. Despite the people that are running, not allowed. And what is the reason for that? Oh, because Trump. These Republicans are such a dangerous threat. We have to not give you a choice because we have to save you. But really, they're just trying to save their own interests. That's all it is. And that's why if somebody like Trump does win, if he wins, if somebody like Trump wins, somebody that's not establishment approved, if they win, they will do everything in their power to burn everything else to the ground. If you can't have it my way, all this shit getting fucked up. So that's why it's kind of tough. Even if Trump does win, they're gonna do shit. Even if somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy won, they'll do shit to make sure they can't get anything done. They're gonna go out the way to make sure to try to vilify everything they do. Try to make them look crazy every second of the day, just like they did back in 2016. Every year that man was president, every day, for 4 years straight, Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that. Of course, Trump didn't make it easier. He didn't make it easier on himself for sure, but they definitely went out of his way to try to make him seem like the Lex Luthor, Dr. Doom. I'm like, bro, come on, bro, come on. But of course, all you gotta do to get people activated is scream and cry racism. scream and cry sexism, scream and cry homophobia, transphobia, scream all the isms and phobias, and people will activate like drones. What? You? Come on, bruh. And like I said, that's why they want all these people focused on their identities. Okay? They want all these people focused on their identities so it's easier to divide and conquer, control. They don't want people to have their identities but also identify as American, right? They want people to hate America. They want people to feel like everyone's out to get them. Damn. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you got anything to add to this, if you got other things I should look at, other stories, other articles, other news reports I should watch and, dive into and see what they got going on. Listen, we're on a journey. What Russell Brand like to say, all you awakening wonders, okay? A lot of people are waking up to the shit that's going on, being woke to what's really going on. And I'm talking about real woke, not the fake woke, the real woke. But I'll see you in the next video. Like I said, comment, subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell down below, and join the Discord, link in the description box. Can't let this shit happen, bruh. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.